morning. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of your number one breakfast show on television inside Nigeria. It's reaching you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Bebo, and as you can see, I'm alone in the studio. My Tuesday guest, is unavoidably absent. Nevertheless, we're just going to see what the papers are saying this morning. Welcome once again. As usual, we start off with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. Leadership is leading with a story on avoid debts, pay salaries, or fail. Okonjo-Iweala tells governors. Avoid debts, pay salaries, or fail. Okonjo-Iweala tells governors. Perform or be voted out, PNB tells governors elect. Let your successors be Saraki Aliyu Dagbambo caution. Let your successors be Saraki Aliyu Dagbambo caution. There's a leading story on leadership. This Tuesday, May 16, 2023. Above the masthead of leadership, we have I almost gave up 66 hours into contest. I almost gave up 6 hours into contest, Hida Bashi. I almost gave up 6 hours into contest, Hida Bashi. She is a product of resilience, hard work, family. I give God all the glory, says excited mom. President Muhammadu Buhari of Simbanjo orders celebrate as Chief Chef Bashir hits 100 hours, makes Guinness World Record. Of course, you have a picture of Hida Bashir, Chef Hida Bashir, right there beside the story. Beneath the masthead, we have 13 days to go. Threat to inauguration. Perpetrators won't be spared. IGP. 13 days to go. Threats to inauguration. Perpetrators won't be spared. IGP. Resident doctors declare 5-day nationwide strike. Insecurity, food scarcity raise inflation to 22.22%. Leadership NDLEA partner to address drug abuse. Federal government kills mom as US imposes visa ban on electoral offenders. And of course, you have a picture on the cover of Leadership, cover of Konjo-Iweala, Director General World Trade Organization. We have Chairman Governors Forum, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwa of Sokoto State. We have Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, the Deputy Secretary General of United Nations, Amina Mohammed, Kebbi State Governor Atiku Bagutu, and Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong at the induction of governors-elect held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, yesterday. Of course, they said that the picture speaks more than 1,000 words. There you have the leading picture on leadership today. Still on leadership newspaper, we move over to the page 3 of leadership. That is the electoral slant of the paper, which is Our Stand. Our Stand has as its title today, NAS Leadership and the Task Ahead. NAS Leadership and the Task Ahead. We move over to the back page of the paper, Tuesday column with Wade Murphy. To Hida Bashi and all achieving Nigerian youths, a tribute to Nigerians. Chef, 27-year-old chef Hida Bachi, who has done Nigeria proud by breaking Guinness Book of Records and of course setting a new record. And we have Ghana Must Go. Before we leave the back page, Shehu Kuti's last policeman, IG order his arrest. Shehu Kuti's last policeman, IG orders his arrest. News. And of course, Ghana Must Go answer. Shouldn't IG slap him first before his arrest? That is leadership for you today. From leadership, we are moving over to the next paper we have on our menu, and that is I'm trying to see. We'll take a Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint says May 29 inauguration will crush subversive elements. IGP wants. May 29 inauguration will crush subversive elements. IGP wants. Fingers agree politicians as masterminds. US imposes visa restrictions on those who undermine 2023 goals. The story is on page 6. Of course, you have a big picture of Chef Hida Bashir getting set for new Guinness World Record as the longest cook at ton. Yes, she just broke the record yesterday from all available reports. Although the Guinness Book of Records says they have to follow a process to see whether she followed the process, the laid down procedures for it. But nevertheless, we are hopeful because she actually went through the process. We are keeping our fingers crossed. Still on Blueprint newspaper, suspected Boko Haram suspect bomb self in Kaduna to evade arrest. Suspected Boko Haram suspect bomb self in Kaduna to evade arrest. Terrorists kill 18, injure 30 in Zamfara. So it's on page 5 and page 6 of Blueprint newspaper. Now we have Kukaton. We are here to confirm Bashi Guinness World Records. Rescue Chibok girl Saratu Dauda leaves behind 3 children. Rescue Chibok girl Saratu Dauda leaves behind 3 children. Nigeria's inflation hits 22.2% as food prices rise. Resident doctors to begin warning strike Wednesday. Judiciary under my watch won't condone corruption. That is from CJN. From Blueprint, we look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is saying IG wants subversive elements against plots to derail May 29. IG wants subversive elements against plots to derail May 29. Political actors conspiring to stop inauguration of President-elect Tinubu governors. IG wants subversive elements against plots to derail May 29. Political actors conspiring to stop inauguration of President-elect Tinubu governors. Now about that story, we have CBN decries telecoms operators, banks face off over USSD. CBN decries telecoms operators, banks face off over USSD. Stories on page 25 of the Nation. And of course, we have other stories trending. US will sanction those who undermine elections, although there was a list that was being banded yesterday containing the names of those banned, but is yet to be confirmed. And we have 13 trillion naira spent on subsidy in 16 years, says federal government. 13 trillion naira spent on subsidy in 16 years, says federal government. Tinubu to get guide from Transition Council. Above the masthead of the Nation, we have life outside power is challenging. Igbinedion Saraki tell outgoing governors. Life outside power is challenging. Igbinedion Saraki tell outgoing governors. Assault on inspector detained Sheun Kuti may undergo drug test. Assault on inspector detained Sheun Kuti may undergo drug test. NBS boosts April inflation rate at 22.22%. We have stories Turkey poll runoff May 28. And of course, federal government approves 37 new private universities. Federal government approves 37 new private universities. And of course, we have so many private universities around in the country now. And one begins to wonder why so many still can't get admission in the country. We have, before we leave the Nation newspaper, we have Nigerians spend $1.2 billion on medical tourism yearly, says Minister. Nigerians spend $1.2 billion on medical tourism yearly, says Minister. For more stories on the Nation, and of course, there are inside stories, interesting ones, and trending stories too. Just log on to the website www.thenationonlineng.net www.thenationonlineng.net. That is all for the Nation this morning. From the Nation, we still move over to the Punch newspaper. It's still the trending story, like in other papers, on May 29th inauguration. And the Punch says Tinubu's inauguration, military IG warn troublemakers as court hears anti-handover case. Tinubu's inauguration, military IG warn troublemakers as court hears anti-handover case. That's the leading story on the Punch newspaper. And above the masthead, let's take the stories above the masthead. Pay rise, resident doctors begin warning strike Wednesday. Pay rise, resident doctors begin warning strike Wednesday. US announces visa ban on Nigerian poll riggers orders. US announces visa ban on Nigerian poll riggers orders. Federal government spends 13 trillion naira on subsidy, sets removal guidelines. Federal government spends 13 trillion naira on subsidy, sets removal guidelines. And the Punch newspaper has the story, has the picture, both pictures, as a matter of fact, on the Punch of Sheung Kuti, who who the paper says spends night in custody, police plan arraignment. We have a picture of Sheung Kuti yesterday at the police in Lagos, and of course the middle picture you have him and the officer he was said to have molested. And above that, we have a suspected terrorist blows up self to fall arrest. Suspected terrorist blows up self to fall arrest. Hilda's marathon cooking smashes world record, grabs global attention. Hilda's marathon cooking smashes world record, grabs global attention. Stop forced marriage in North can urges Tinubu. Stop forced marriage in North can urges Tinubu. That's all we can take on the Punch newspaper. Of course, for more stories on the Punch, just log on to the website www.punchng.com. And of course, we have back page column on the Punch newspaper, Nigeria's impunity crisis and Sheung Kuti's assault of cop. That is on the back page of Punch. And from that, that's all we can take on the Punch. From the Punch, we move over to this day. This day says Buhari is been bumpy 8 years, but we have built foundation for prosperous Nigeria. Buhari says it's been bumpy 8 years, but we have built foundation for prosperous Nigeria. Says nation's electorate now maturing, advises elected officials to deliver or be shown way out. Okonjo Iweala, Amina Mohammed, Saraki, David Green, Elumelu, others task incoming governors on economy, good governance. Buhari has been bumping 8 years, but we built foundation for prosperous Nigeria. Says nation's electorate now maturing, advises elected officials to deliver or be shown way out. Okonjo Iweala, Amina Mohammed, Saraki, David Green, Elumelu, others tax incoming governors on economy, good governance. US imposes visa ban on Nigerians who disrupted 2023 elections. The story is on page 12 on this day newspaper. And of course, you also have similar stories in all the papers we just read today. And we move over to stories above the masthead. $800 million loan. World Bank clears air, says decision to draw down facility rests with incoming government. $800 million loan. World Bank clears air, says decision to draw down facility rests with incoming government. Reiterates call for elimination of fuel subsidy. Advises incoming government to be decisive, urgently engage stakeholders on assumption of office. We are still on this newspaper. Appeal court stays enforcement of orders suspending Seplat's CEO orders. Appeal court stays enforcement of orders suspending Seplat CEO orders. That is the story on this day. And we move over from the cover story, we move over to the editorial of this day. And the editorial is on yes. I'd like to see what the editorial is on today, on this day newspaper. The editorial is on accountability in public universities. Accountability in public universities. University administrators should make life easier, not harder for students. Accountability in public universities. The university administrators should make life easier, not harder for students. That is the editorial of this day newspaper today. And of course, for more stories, you also log on to the website www.thisdaylive.com. From this day, we move over to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is talking business. It has been doing business with stories for a while now. And this cover story this today, Tuesday, May 16, says uncertainty over $2.3 billion Siemens deal as grid collapses 99th time under Buhari. Uncertainty over $2.3 billion CMS deal as grid collapses 99th time under Buhari. The story is on page 6 of The Guardian. We also have resident doctors declare 5-day warning strike. US slams visa ban on Nigerians who undermine 2023 elections. Buhari Lawan hail Hida on world record feat. Buhari Lawan hail Hida on world record feat. Government kicks against move to halt doctors' migration. Government kicks against move to halt doctors' migration. Buhari leaves inflation at highest in 77 years. And because the NBS came with a recent report that Nigeria's inflation growth year on has risen to 22.22% this quarter of the year. Nigeria's inflation rate is 22.22%. And of course, on the Guardian, you have a graph of plotting in Nigeria's inflation rate. You have Nigeria's inflation growth year on year from 2015 to 2023. And as you can see on that graph, 2023 seems to be the highest we are seeing. And before 2023, we have one that almost peaked in 2021, shortly after the COVID. 2021, shortly after the COVID. Now, the paper is saying Buhari leaves inflation at highest in 17 years. Just before we leave the Guardian, we have assault. Kuti apologizes, gives officer 12,000 naira for vehicle repairs. Kuti apologizes, gives officer 12,000 naira for vehicle repairs. That's the leading story. These are the leading stories in the Guardian newspaper this Tuesday. Just before we leave Guardian newspaper, we want to see the editorial, their editorial for today. The editorial says energy transition plan and the solar solution. Energy transition plan and the solar solution. This is the editorial stand of the paper today, Tuesday, May 16, 2023. Let's move over to the last paper we have on our menu, and that is Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard is still on this national leadership crisis, National Assembly leadership crisis. Vanguard is still on the story. It's a developing story, actually, because the last piece has not been heard. 10th NAS leadership crisis. Non-central governors kick against zoning to meet Tinubu National Working Committee. 10th National Assembly leadership crisis. North Central governors kick against zoning to meet Tinubu National Working Committee. As aggrieved aspirants vow to take battle to plenary. Tinubu's men move to stop probe of Akpabio, Tunji Ojo over NDDC funds. Rest spoil for war today over alleged doctored house rules to favour Abbas. APC placates North Central with SGF. Party supremacy should be upheld, Kanu. I'll take that again. 10th National Assembly leadership crisis. North Central governors kick against zoning to meet Tinubu National Working Committee. As aggrieved aspirants vow to take battle to plenary. Tinubu's men move to stop probe of Akpabio, Tunji Ojo over NDDC funds. Rest spoil for war today over alleged doctored house rules to favour Abbas. APC placates North Central with SGF. Party supremacy should be upheld, Kanu. And of course, we have pictures of Sheun Kuti, just like the Punch newspaper. We have pictures of Sheun Kuti on the cover of Vanguard newspaper today. Three profile pictures actually. We have profile photos of Afrobeat musician Sheun Kuti after he turned himself in at Lagos Police Command headquarters in Ikeja yesterday. We have let's start again from above the masthead. Stories above the masthead. We have naira devaluation, others pressure inflation rate to 22.22%. Naira devaluation, others pressure inflation rate to 22.22%. We are still on Vanguard newspaper. Focus on debt management, others. Okonjo-Iweala urges incoming governors. Focus on debt management, others. Okonjo-Iweala urges incoming governors. And still on Vanguard newspaper, we have federal government kicks against bill to stop migration of doctors. Federal government kicks against bill to stop migration of doctors as medical doctors start strike tomorrow. 120 billion naira USSD dispute. Banks, telcos disagree on technical issues. 120 billion USSD dispute. Banks, telcos disagree on technical issues. Buhari should stop study leaves. Others, Matawali. Buhari should stop study leaves. Others, Matawali. We have petrol subsidy cost could be more than 1.3 trillion naira, federal government admits. Petrol subsidy cost could be more than 1.3 trillion naira, federal government admits. Allow your successors to work as governors. Saraki, Aliyu, others tell outgoing governors. US slams visa ban on unnamed Nigerians undermining democracy. US slams visa ban on unnamed Nigerians undermining democracy. Dangote refinery to meet 100% Nigeria's requirement report. Health. WHO decries global rise in anemia as 571 million women, 269 million children suffer. Sports. Tottenham way up move for Eberechi Eze. Just before we leave Vanguard, let's see what the editorial, which is the slant of the paper, is saying this Tuesday. We are moving over to the editorial page of the Vanguard newspaper. And the editorial is on putting NBC on a leash. Putting NBC, that is the National Broadcasting Commission, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission on a leash. Putting NBC on a leash. That is the editorial slant of Vanguard newspaper today. And just a few days ago, a court says putting sanctions on media houses is illegal. And of course, it's a court judgment that the NBC says is going to appeal. So until it appeals it, the court has ruled that it's illegal to place sanctions, financial sanctions on media houses. And the Vanguard's editorial today says putting NBC, that is the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, on a leash. For more stories inside Vanguard and even outside pages, just log on to the website today, and that is www.vanguardnigr.com. www.vanguardngr.com. Well, viewers, this is all we can take on today's papers for review. Don't forget, same time, same station is another day for another review and discussion. My name is Winifred Webo. I look forward to having you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye.